Hi, everyone. This is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman. And today we are talking about our 777 energy portal because it is opening up. It is already kind of open. So we're going to talk about all that information so you can learn about it. What does it mean? Why are we having a 777 energy portal this year? And we'll be talking about all the information. If you watched my video on it, you may have some amazing questions because it is amazing energy coming in right now. So let me do my intro and I will. Here it is. Sorry, about to push the wrong button. Here we go. And here we go. Okay, so I will be posting this on Instagram later, but I'm very excited to be with you guys and to tell you about what's going on with our 7777 energy portal. If you are connecting in, make sure you say hi, connect with me. If you have any questions, even if you didn't see the video, I launched, I think, yesterday or the day before. Let me know if you have any questions. These are really important things to kind of get that more information. And sometimes I'm not sure if y'all are connecting with me. Sometimes I don't know if I've answered everything or if y'all are still going like, what is this crazy lady talking about? So let's talk about, like, every one of the numbers has energy connected to it. And so some of them have a little bit better energy, some have amazing energy. So kind of 7 energy can be symbolizing like oh, thank you, Kathleen. That's so great of you to say hello, Miss Sandra. I am excited about the 7777 five sevens. If I say it wrong, 77777, and I'm going to explain what all the sevens mean. So I'm going to explain all of that. If you saw the video, you'll be like, okay, I know exactly what she's about to talk about. So our 7-7 energy is all about like healing, picking up our DNA codes of kind of like I don't want to say like bringing in new codes necessarily, but a lot of it has to do with, hello, Miss Michelle, are all about kind of like those codes that are coming in, like things that we've like made copies of. You remember when you were a kid, like the teacher would make copies of copies of copies of copies of copies, and you get them and you're kind of like, they're all fuzzy and you're kind of like, what's this? I can't even read. I can't even read it. So that's kind of the way that our DNA gets gets replicated so many times. Sometimes it can become a little fuzzy, or it needs just like this infusion of new code. So that's kind of what this 7-7 energy is all about. So our 7-7 energy is all about activation codes, and it's coming in and lights of energy. Hello, Miss Jennifer. And it's really kind of, we're kind of in the way of it connecting to Mother Earth. So because it's kind of regenerating things on Mother Earth, because it's doing that, we're connecting in as well. So it's kind of like coming through us. So it's renovating us. It's kind of like changing our DNA and upgrading things. And this is like all kinds of things that are coming through. So even if you had an injury, now I'm the crazy child that would try things even if I got hurt. I spent a whole summer trying to do a type of turn on my bike on this gravel paveway. That was me. Injured my knee like every week for like 5-6 weeks, something like that, trying to get this turn. I finally did get it, but I think the third time I had to pull pebbles out of my knee. So I just was a tomboy, and I was always, I wish, I was always just one of those like crazy children that would try things until I got it. So I was just like constantly trying and trying. So that's kind of the cool part about this is, even though nothing really major happened in my knee, it was just kind of like my life happening, me. It's going to be reconnecting, because that's one of the things I'm really connecting on with this 7777 energy, is reconnecting that energy and kind of getting that updated and healed. Now, it can also heal things that you've been through, dramas, traumas, abuse of any time, I'm saying, any physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, any of that is going to kind of bringing in all of those codes as well. So I'm not just saying like bad things, but it can just be regular life things. So kind of one of the things that's always interesting is our 7/7 energy portal is all about July 7th, which happens tomorrow. July 7th is our first two sevens. Our 7/7 always happens in the sign of Cancer. And so the sign of Cancer is all about like manifesting a deeper connection to our energies, illuminating, our guiding us on our energy realms, kind of like, what are we doing? And I will tell you, this kind of energy comes through with some amazing things. And it's one of those, because it's kind of part of that Cancer energy. This is all about like caring and nurturing, and that's where we really sometimes really need to amp up that energy of like that caring and nurturing. And this kind of comes in with some amazing ways. Now, if you have some dialogue with you, if you're kind of thinking like, okay, I went through this abuse, or I had this abusive relationship and it wasn't the best, and there was a lot of things that I could have done differently, or should have done differently, or coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of things. Those are kind of where you're kind of like thinking back to that relationship now. What were the things that you were going through? Like, why didn't you say something when the person said something mean to you, and you're kind of like, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you do something? And I'm not saying like to beat yourself up over it. It's one of those, there's something holding you back. If someone told you something that you're going like, okay, that's a lie, that's when you can call yourself on it, of like, when I even knew when so-and-so told me this story, I knew they were lying. And so that's when you get to really kind of have that deeper thought with yourself of like, what is the internal dialogue in me? What was going on in me as I think back to that time frame? Why was I allowing this person to say this to me? They're telling me that they were at the grocery store, and I know they weren't. Just, there's something in the words that they're telling me that I'm kind of going like, no. There is something different. There's something wrong with your story. And I don't mean like a lot of times when we get a little bit older kind of thing, we'll say like, oh, last Thursday I went to the grocery store, but it was actually last Tuesday. Okay. That's not like a lie of like, that's just a lie because you had a bad memory kind of thing. This is not a lie that I'm trying to lie to someone about something that happened. So it's kind of like there's a difference in what people lie about or why they lie about things. So it's kind of like interesting, kind of like, and they feel a little bit different too. But if someone's purposely lying to you and you can feel it, why didn't you say something about it? And that's kind of like that internal dialogue that you should be having with yourself, of kind of like, when they were telling me they were at the grocery store at that time, that day, I knew there was something wrong with what they were saying. Something wasn't right, but I didn't say anything. So why didn't you say something? That's where your problem is. Or that's kind of like that internal dialogue for you. Where is that kind of issue or problem that's coming up with that? So it's kind of like, why was I allowing them not to say something to them? Like, instead of like, wait, hold on, what you're telling me doesn't feel right, or what you're saying doesn't add up, or something about it. So it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of a good way to do it. And sometimes I will say people kind of restrict their words in some interesting ways. And a lot of times when we're doing this, the way we communicate about ourselves is really kind of harsh. So it's kind of like, how are we communicating about ourselves? Like, we might like let someone else off with, kind of like a little pat on the hand, like, no, let's not do that again. But we talk to ourselves so meanly that a lot of times, like, out of all the people in our world that are mean to ourselves, to yourself, it's one of those, a lot of times it's you're the meanest one ever. You just don't let things go. And you're like, you should have done this. You should have said this. You could have done this. You might have done this. Whatever those are, those coulda, shoulda, wouldas, that's something that would be like, wow, this is really interesting. Why didn't I call this person on this? And kind of that energy sometimes can really hold us back. So when we get into this 7-7 energy portal, that's what that may some of the things that come up. Now let's start with our third 7. Our third 7 is our year 2023. So if you add them up, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3, if you add those all together, you get a 7. So that's our third 7. Okay. Now, one of the best things to do is, and I emailed this out to a whole bunch of people. So if you're one of them, that's great. If not, you can always go in there and take care of it. But I will tell you that I did a meditation on July 2nd, I think it was, when this officially opened up, the energy portal opened up. So one of the great things is the fourth 7 is you could do this meditation at 7 o'clock in the morning on July 7th, 2023 at 7 a.m. Okay. The other really cool part is you should be in that meditation July 7th, 2023 at 7 a.m. and 7 minutes. There's 5. That's why this makes us so powerful. Not every year is a 7 year. Next year is an 8 year. So this year is a 7 year. And this is all about activating that DNA code, kind of changing and modifying things. Now, one of the interesting parts is that we also at the same time have this amazing energy come in. We also kind of connect to our Sirius star. And our Sirius star is all about, a lot of people consider it kind of like where we came from, kind of like our star seed beginnings or something like that. Now, that's not necessarily true for everyone. I have met people from different planets, like their planet of origin, like where did you come from? It's almost like saying when I meet you, like where are your ancestors from? Where have you been in this world that you've started out at? Well, everybody has a start planet. Everybody has a planet that they started on. So what is that planet for you? And for Sirius, there are a lot of people that are from the star Sirius. It's okay, just where you're from. And so the way they communicate with and open up is really interesting. And I will tell you, every year, usually from July 1st through July 8th, usually the Sirius star connection opens up. It's not always the same exact dates, but it can be similar. So this year, it ends like July 7th at midnight. So we still have that activation code completely open. And so if you're from the star Sirius or you are a starseed, you really connect with other planets easier than you do with Earth. I know it sounds like, what? You are going to be drawn to kind of doing deeper meditations during this time frame. You may be drawn to doing grounding meditations. I had a client the other day that literally took a salt tub, and she was just like, I don't want to get out of the water. Like, I am just overwhelmed, and the water, I just feel completely like at home in this water. And I was like, because this Sirius star is opening up this connection. It's one of those, it's bringing in that energy. Now, kind of the nickname for our Sirius star is the spiritual sun. Now, the Sirius star is 23 times brighter than our own sun. Can you imagine that? Like, that is bright. So if you took our sun and kind of amped it all the way up 23 times, that is that Sirius star. Now, it is also considered our spiritual star. Many ancient cultures came from the Sirius star from different locations, and they will really connect back to that. A lot of Native Americans, a lot of Mayans count that Sirius star as their connection. And so if you are connected to the Sirius star, or you have been through something or lived on the Sirius star, you may feel like this really amping up for you in some amazing ways. One of the things I will tell you is kind of doing the meditation will really amp things up. But I will also tell you that some of the crystals that you are drawn to at this time can really help you connect in. So even if you were like, oh, I think I can do this on my own, I will tell you that a lot of the crystals can really be activating right now. Now, Christocala is a stone that I will tell you is kind of one of those amazing stones. It is very peaceful and very healing. And so Christocala is a stone that I would say is a great one to meditate this 777 energy with, and kind of bringing in that amazing energy. Lorimar, which is the one I have on right now. This is Lorimar. Lorimar really connects your voice and your heart connection. And our 7-7 energy is all about our heart and kind of like our vision. Is has a lot to do with our third eye, clearing out our third eye. But a lot of times, it is a great way to really activate that energy. The next two stones are the kind of like ones that I would say, like if you can't find Christocala or Larimar, then I would say blue calcite would be a really good one. And calcite, blue calcite is all about like finding your life purpose, or speaking your truth about your purpose. It's all about that truth and purpose combined. The next one, it would be our blue moonstone, and that's all about healing with balance, because we want to heal balanced on both sides. Because a lot of times when we have like an injury or whatever else, it injures us on one side, but it doesn't always injure us on the other. But a lot of times that other side, if you've ever like hurt your ankle or your knee, you'll start wearing a crutch on one side, or you'll wear a boot, or you'll wear something. And what we end up doing is kind of shifting more pressure to that better side. And as we do, a lot of times, like it's now putting more pressure on that. So we want to balance the same way in our healing. So we're balancing this energy. Anytime that you are doing this, I would say doing this meditation out in the sunlight or the moonlight would be a really great one, and kind of really amplify. Sometimes you can actually see this Sirius star, especially this time of year. Especially, you don't have to have a telescope all the time. Sometimes you can find it if you have like an app on your phone where you can find the planets and stuff like that. If y'all have any questions, ask them. I love this. So much fun. Let's see. Our 777 energy also kind of really can connect our crown chakra, and that's kind of bringing in those activation codes. It will activate our crown chakra and then activate all the way down, so that can be a really good one too. Let's see. Our Sirius star, like I said, has been considered like our lifeline planet. It is not always the base planet or the planet of origin for everybody. It's just not. A lot of people kind of like incorrectly say that it is, but it's really, really not. So that can be kind of an interesting energy. If you are from that area or from that star, you can really feel that energy as well. That's kind of one of those interesting. A lot of people from ancient Egypt considered this Sirius star the star of the goddess Isis, which rules the cycles of death and rebirth. So that can be kind of one of those. Like I said, a lot of Native American energy as well is put towards that energy. But I will tell you, one of the things that's really interesting for me is that I've already noticed it. And if you haven't noticed it, it's kind of like one of those like, there are a lot of people that will have a spiritual awakening. And usually it's not necessarily like if you've been working on your abilities, all of a sudden you will get like a zoop up to the next level. Like you've been working on clearing out your third eye, and then boom, it's clear, it's ready to go. Or you've been working on healing some heart issues, or some like throat chakra issues or heart chakra issues. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's healed, it's done. And you're just like, wow, this is amazing. I will tell you, it kind of really amps you to the next cycle. It's not going to take you past there where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. It's really amping you up in that area. One of the things that I found that's really interesting, and because the star Sirius is always during this time frame, it also will amp us up into kind of the vibration that the star Sirius has, is about freedom, which is kind of like the 4th of July, freedom, all of those things. And it's really about like kind of like the freedom to express ourselves and really talk about our abilities. So many times when we have abilities, we kind of like don't talk about it. We don't say it to other people. It's one of those kind of like, we're not really sure how to deal with this, or we're not really sure. And it doesn't mean you need to talk to everybody about your psychic abilities. Having one or two people around you at the beginning are really healthy and fun to have that person to connect to, or this is happening, or that's happening. How do I do this, or how do I do that? That is a great one to have, of kind of like opening up those abilities and really allowing kind of like your freedom to talk about things. I have people that will come up to me and ask me about my psychic abilities, or we'll be chatting about something else, and I'll say something about my psychic abilities. And if they seem interested, I might kind of give them a little bit more information. But if they're kind of like, oh, don't like that, there are so many other levels I can talk about. I'm a mom. I am now a grandma. I have dogs. I had a cat. It's one of those. I have friends. So there's a lot of other areas that I could really kind of connect with other people. And it doesn't always have to be on that same psychic energy of like, this is the only thing I'll talk about, or this is the only thing I talk to other people about. So it's kind of like a great way to do it. One of the things that I found that's kind of funny that happens when around this time frame, just about everybody will have some type of computer technology issue. And it's kind of like that Star Series really likes to kind of like play with us a little bit. I will tell you, it's kind of one of those, computer issues, phone issues. This one has really been a really harsh one for me, because we also have Uranus in retrograde, and Uranus is all about technology. And so technology has really been kind of not my friend for a few weeks. And today was one of those, like, technology was just not my friend today. Had a couple of like crazy issues. So if you've had some crazy technology issues, it will be over in a couple of days and usually go back to normal. One of the things I will say is taking time during this time frame to kind of connect with your angels and guides, get that information from your angels and guides about what are your next steps, what are your next steps with your life purpose, what are the next steps that you should be advancing into, any spiritual awareness, or kind of like what's coming up next for me spiritual awareness wise. And this can also be connecting to like higher beings. I often tell people, a lot of times people will tell me that like, oh, Archangel Michael is too big or too important to come and see me, or I can't talk to God, or I can't talk to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of like above my realm, or they're like too high up in the status kind of thing. I will tell you that's kind of inaccurate, because they really like to connect to us. But a lot of times I love kind of that funny part. Like people would be like, oh, I'm too such a peon. Like, why would Archangel Michael come talk to me? Or why would Jesus come talk to me? Or why would God come talk to me? Because you're just as important as anybody else. The truth is the truth. I will tell you, it's kind of like, yeah, that's the fun part. I guarantee you that's the fun part, of kind of connecting into this amazing energy, connecting in to kind of like, what are they wanting to tell me? What's coming up next? They kind of will not tell you too much, but they will tell you kind of that maybe the next step or two of kind of like what's coming in. And I think that's kind of the fun part, to kind of like, okay, here we go. Let's see. One of the things that's interesting with our Sirius star is that it will activate our third eye, and kind of doing meditations that will amp up your third eye. If you saw the video, like Kathleen was talking about, like she saw the video, it will tell you how to cleanse your third eye. So make sure you do that. That can be really a great way to kind of shake off some amazing like stuck energy there. One of the other ones I will tell you is to do some automatic writing. Automatic writing is when you kind of just grab a pen, and usually you start doodling on the page. And I always tell people, like, you want to keep your pen in motion. So even if you're just doing circles or O's and connecting them together, kind of energy. And as you do, to kind of get into the meditative state of that, just kind of like relaxing your energy. Think about your pen moving on the paper, that sort of thing, and kind of asking your angels and guides at some point, like, okay, what do I need to know? Or who's here with me? What angels are with me? Or whatever it is, and asking those questions, and then just let your hand keep going, and literally just keep allowing your hand to keep flowing and flowing and flowing. Um, wrong way. That can be a great way to kind of get some of those messages. So kind of getting your hands in that flow can really be a fun way to do that, and kind of like getting that energy going. Sorry. The next one I think is really cool to do is doing a meditation. Now, when I do a meditation to kind of connect into the Star Series energy, now you can do that anytime. It's just closer right now, so it makes the connection a little bit easier. But doing it with your stones on is a really good one to have your stones on. But sometimes if I'm trying to clear out my third eye, I will put this stone on my third eye. So Michelle saying she gets amazing messages through her automatic writing. A lot of people do, and I will tell you that it's kind of one of those fun ones. Now, you could also do your automatic writing with your stone on your third eye or on your throat chakra and see what messages or how it changes or upgrades the messages that you get. Sometimes it just makes it an easier connection for them. So that's kind of like, yes, one of those special things. But using your crystals, you could also make a space in your space, kind of like an automatic writing space. Now, I have a friend who has like whole room dedicated to like meditation and automatic writing and stuff like that. So they have like this huge, soft kind of pillow on the ground with a notebook and a pen by their side, usually a couple of salt lamps, and some crystals all around to kind of like clear out the energy around them. And then they have like a whole bunch of like little crystals lined up, and sometimes they will grab the crystal and kind of like, where does this crystal want to go? So sometimes they'll be holding one on their throat chakra, maybe one on their heart chakra, they may be holding one on their third eye. And that is a great way to kind of connect into this energy, and kind of how does that affect your automatic writing as you do all of this. Can be one of those like, interesting. I will tell you, one of the things that kind of comes up with the Sirius star a lot is a lot of people talking about like being a star person, being a star seed, that sort of thing. And so kind of that's one of the energies that comes through a lot with people of like, where is my planet of origin? Where do I come from? What is it why do I feel different from other people? And I will tell you, most people that I've met have been on many different planets. So that's kind of one of those like, it can be a little difficult. I do have some planets that not many clients are from. I have a couple of them that there's only like 3 or 4 clients that I know that are from that star system or that energy. But our universe is huge. It is vast. And it is impossible to kind of like know where every being is from. But I will tell you that this is an amazing one to kind of connect with this energy, and really connect with ancient people, like your history, and can really bring up some things. Now, next week, one of the things that we'll be talking about is kind of like fears that we bring in from other lifetimes or past lives. And this can be one that kind of connects the two together, because when we have a lifetime, like if we fell off of something in one life and we died, that may come into our current life where we're scared of heights, or we're afraid of falling, or we're afraid of something else. So it doesn't have to always be like the same thing. Like I fell off a ladder in a previous life and I died. I may not have a fear of falling off a ladder in this lifetime, but I could have a fear of just falling, or I could have a fear of heights. So it just depends on like that lifetime, what you learned, how you passed, that sort of thing. Can be kind of one of those like interesting energies, I think. Does anybody have you ever, anybody ever tried to connect to their planet of origin in their past lives? I think that's kind of an interesting question. Has anybody ever tried to connect to their first planet they were ever on? That can be a really amazing energy. We've done that in some of my upper level advanced classes, and that can be a really interesting connection. And I do have a lot of videos on different planets, that kind of like what would you feel in that area. But I will say usually it's something I reserve for my advanced students, because this is kind of like upper level interesting higher consciousness of moving into things. But I think that's kind of one of those interesting. So Wish is saying, I did do a past life regression, but never my planet of origin. Sounds very interesting. It really is, but you really have to be ready to kind of see that coming in. Michelle saying the same thing, super interesting. I think it is really interesting because like our past lives and that information can be really interesting. Not everybody can see our past lives, or not everybody can really easily see their past lives. It's always right there, but a lot of people think of it as like it's hard or it's difficult or whatever it is. And it's really not as hard or as difficult as you would think to kind of connect to it. I think when people really think of like past life regression, they're thinking like, oh my gosh, this is huge kind of thing. And it may not be. Kathleen is saying, I actually used to have dreams when I was younger about where my soul originates from, but they stopped me as I got older, unfortunately. I've had a hard time tapping into it. If you did it as a child, Kathleen, it's kind of like riding a bike. Like it may take some time to get back to being like really good at riding it, but it's one of those, I guarantee you can get back there. If you did it as a childhood, you can, as a child, you can do it again. So that's kind of like, yeah, it's there. It just, and sometimes it's something that's, we got frightened by it. Sometimes it can be, we told someone else about it and they got frightened for us. Like, you went where? You learned that you lived on a planet? Because you really do have to have an understanding of it. I did have a client a couple of years ago, and we were doing a past life regression to planets of in the past, like specifically not just like past life on Earth, but like past life information. And that was one of those that his memory came through, and he was on a planet of like huge salamanders. Like we're talking like 8 to 10 foot long salamanders, not like little bitty salamanders, like we, you know, like huge. And he was like, at first it felt like it wasn't part of me. And then he started to realize like, wow, no, this is my family and I'm a salamander too. So it's one of those, you have to kind of be able to deal with some of that energy, but that's a really, really interesting one. I will tell you next week, on Thursday Night Live, I will be talking about past lives and fears that we can come in from past lives. So that's kind of will be a really interesting one. What planet do the gray aliens live? Actually, there is a lot of planets that have gray aliens because gray aliens are, it depends on the size. I guess let me put it this way. There's little short gray aliens. I don't mean this size. I'm just saying like shorter. And then there's some that are really tall and thin. Some are more round. So you have to kind of really tell me like what they look like, I guess is the best way. And we'll talk about it next week as well. But it's one of those like some of the gray aliens have a very round face. So you have to kind of look at their physical features. And some of them are like very short, like 3 or 4 feet tall. Like a 4-foot one would be really tall on their planet, but like 3.5 feet or so would be kind of like an average height. And then there's some gray aliens that are very tall, very, very thin, slender face, thin, long arms and legs. And then there's some that they're kind of like that weird uncle that you had that had the hairy back. So they have like this weird hairy back thing going on. Try not to freak people out with that. It's not like creepy weird, but it's just like that weird uncle thing. Like, why does that weird uncle have a lot of hair on his back? That's that kind of like, they'll have some gray aliens that are kind of like have a big broad back and they have like, it's a lot of hair on there. So it's kind of like one of those creepy ones kind of thing. But we will talk about past lives next week. And if y'all have a lot of questions about this, we may be adding you to the roster. If you get with me this week, I may be adding you to the roster and talking about like some fears that you've brought in from a past life. This is always could be an interesting topic that we do, especially with during the summer months. So this will be kind of like interesting. Okay, I thank y'all so much for tonight for joining me, and I know that we'll be talking again soon. Y'all have an amazing week.